Once again, we gather in search of the truth, dark, and mystery. It's the Drunk Turkey Show.
Big development today in the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. According to state and local officials and court documents, 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohberger has been arrested. He was arrested and arraigned this morning in Pennsylvania.
We have new details on what Brian Kohberger was doing right before his arrest. Police says a tactical team burst in to arrest the Idaho murder suspect. He was in pajamas and latex gloves, stuffing trash into Ziploc bags.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Phil J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
You know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Welcome back, everybody, to the DT Show. Today, we're getting back into the Karen Read case. I'm not sure if everybody saw, but I dropped the video yesterday. It was just a quick, brief, like 9-10 minute video on a specific part of the evidence that I think is pretty telling as far as, you know, who may have done what. Now, it's not something that, in my opinion, proves intent or any of those type of things, but I think that the information that we saw yesterday and the way I explained it kind of shows that, at least in my opinion, that Karen Read actually did, in fact, strike John O'Keefe that night in Canton, Massachusetts. I want to thank everybody for being here. Please hit that like and subscribe button, ring that notification bell, and you know what to do. Thank you so much, Vanilla. Impressed with the beard. Thank you. It's coming in. It's coming in. We'll see how long I go with it. Right now, I intend on going till at least January, but I have a feeling it'll probably go a lot longer. But without further ado, let's get back into the content. All right. And then, you know, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you guys what I was talking about last night. I'm going to explain it. I'll answer some of your questions. And then I have something else that I want to show you guys as well. And then answer your questions too. So let's get into this. Let me share my screen real quick. All righty. So the information that we were talking about, or I was talking about yesterday, had to deal with the rear tail light of Karen Read's Lexus SUV. And, you know, there's been a lot of debate on whether, you know, when did the vehicle sustain its impacts. You know, there was some clear indication that the taillight was cracked. That's been the ongoing theory of the prosecution that Karen Read hit John O'Keefe with her vehicle, striking him with the taillight, right? That's the big theory there. The defense team came in saying, no, they hit John O'Keefe's car here, and that's where the damage to the SUV came from. Now, first couple things we have to lay out is this is at John O'Keefe's residence, and as you can see, this camera that's pointing out in the back. Now, it doesn't focus in on the snow yet because it just activated due to the lights and illuminating the area. Once it kind of focuses in and it can capture the snow that's coming down, we'll see that. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of snow down. There's no tracks going out one direction or another. And Karen Read's vehicle is coming out of a garage. Now, why is that important? That is important because we know that nobody hit the vehicle while it was in the garage, right? It couldn't have been out on the public street and then somebody strike it or some of those things, right? So that's out of the question right now. When was the last time that her vehicle was out on the street leading up to this point? And from what I understand, it was around 2:36, 2:35 when she connected to John O'Keefe's Wi-Fi, right? So from the moment that she dropped John O'Keefe to the time that she enters here, that is the only time that this vehicle is susceptible to an impact at this point, right? We can all agree to that. And as you can see, there's nobody that comes in, sneaks in, or anything like that. We don't see any footprints in the snow, no tire tracks or anything like that. See, now that the light or the camera's refocused, you can see the extensiveness of the snow coming down, and you'll see her reverse. You know, you can, and when she moves forward, you'll see the tire marks. You'll be able to tell that up until this point, nobody's dropped out. Now, there's a big contention here that perhaps Karen Reed hit this vehicle right here at this point. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt, right? Let's just say she hits John O'Keefe's car here. Let's roll it back a little bit. Right here, you see any disturbance underneath his car at all? I don't. But let's just say she hits that vehicle right there. Boom, it collides, which I don't think that's what's going on. I think the movement that you're seeing is she's hitting the brakes. You know, when you hit the brakes, your vehicle kind of sways a little bit. Her vehicle is doing that sway, and it's confusing the viewers into thinking that it's striking the other vehicle, and that's not the case. But let's give her the benefit of the doubt that is the case. So as she's pulling out, where are the pieces of the red taillight? Here. There are none. There are absolutely no pieces of taillight as she's leaving. And I have a still image that we'll be able to go through and see. And you can see her take off. Now, a couple of things that I noticed when she was taking off is, and I think what a lot of people were trying to focus in on, is the outside of the housing of the taillight, right? I mean, that's what everybody's focusing in on right here. Hey, look, the outer part of the housing is there. I agree. The outer part of the housing is there. But you can clearly see right here, right in the middle there, there's a big chunk of taillight missing. In fact, if you look at the opposite end on the passenger side, or the driver's side, I'm sorry, you can see red going all the way through. You can see how the taillight, there's no breakage, you know, from the outside as it curves onto the inside of the tailgate. And here you see a break here. It gets more apparent as the vehicle goes further and further away of which part of the tailgate or the taillight that is broken or missing here. And there's no pieces here. So what does that tell us? That tells us that if Karen Reed drove into this area, parked in the garage, had it secured, nobody came in, nobody came out, and then she left, and there's no damage here behind John O'Keefe's car, that means that damage came in with that vehicle. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you know, there was a piece that was found out there, Daniel. There was a piece that was found in the snow that matches the piece here. Right. So there's a piece in the snow that'll match this outside taillight. Well, let's look at that. So first and foremost, we're gonna I'll look at this real quick so we can zoom in. No disturbance, nothing in the snow. They haven't gone that far back yet. You can see her vehicle's here. You can see this is when she's already starting to head out. You can see the tire marks come this way. And yet there's no piece of taillight there. Now, right here at the bottom right is where everybody's saying, oh, look, there's a piece of taillight there. All right. It's this piece here. It's got to be this piece. This piece is missing at this point. All right. The car is here. It's missing here. But it's there on that image. Now, this is one of the pieces of rear taillight lens that was found. And this piece, because there's a curvature here, was what I'm looking for. I was basically told that this was that piece that they planted. That Proctor took this piece and planted it there. And I'm like, the problem with that is you can see, oh, you see this here, right here? That's complete, right? Well, right here, you can see that there's still that piece of glass right there, or a piece of taillight in that corner. So I was like, that doesn't even look like the right thing. So what I said was, all right, let's look at a taillight one that's complete, so we can kind of figure out what's going on here. First thing I noticed were these two fins on the side of the right here. These two fins on the side of the taillight. Those fins aren't here. All right. And so I was like, so this isn't that part of the vehicle. And it's like, this part looks kind of familiar, this little curvature right here. And so I Googled the taillight pieces that were available, and I found this. And lo and behold, right here where everybody says there's a, piece missing and this is the part that's it, you have this image here. As you can see right here in bottom left of it, it's kind of fading a little bit. I wonder if that's because there's like some film on here. Now, I used to have a Lexus. I didn't have the Lexus 5, whatever it is, SUV. I had an LC 500. And when I was working on my car, I noticed that Lexus has this film that kind of goes over the headlights and taillights, kind of like a little protectant, so to speak. And in an impact, I would expect some of those pieces of taillights to still be stuck to the film that's there. But what I did notice is this piece here. Now, this piece here looks real familiar, right? I mean, you got the curvature, you got it, the roundness, curvature, roundness. I was like, man, that looks a lot more like that piece there. Well, lo and behold, that piece there goes right here where I said it was. So that goes right here. And lo and behold, what's missing right there? Piece of red material. So the red glass, or the red plastic casing, was already missing when she pulled in to this driveway at 12:36. And it was located here in the snow where John O'Keefe's body was. So what does this mean? This means that nobody went and broke the piece of glass and went and took it, because it wasn't there. It wasn't there when they towed it. It wasn't there when she got to John O'Keefe's car, or John O'Keefe's residence. It was already gone. The piece that's missing that we see at the scene is missing when she's driving away from John O'Keefe's house. And a lot of people are saying, well, this is inconsistent. Like, I think I see one person out here saying it's inconsistent with 35 mile per hour. A lot of people were saying that this bump right here at 2 miles an hour was what caused this damage. But yeah, when it comes to, versus a person, it doesn't happen. Have you ever seen a vehicle hit by a deer, or hit a deer going 25 miles an hour? It's quite a bit of extensive damage, to be honest with you. And so now here, in order for this to have occurred, my belief is that he was sideswiped. And I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comment section, so let me get this out of the way now. I don't watch the trial. I don't want to watch the trial. I want to make my own opinion. I don't care what the prosecution is saying. I don't care what the defense is saying. I want to look at the evidence that is in place and say, does this fit the crime or does it not? I don't get swayed by a charismatic lawyer or anything else like that. The way I look at a case is similar to a judge. All right. Is there proof of that, or is there not proof of that? Is there evidence of what you're claiming, or is there not? And here in this situation, it's pretty clear that this vehicle pulled in at 12:36 a.m., given the fact that Karen Reed's phone connected to that Wi-Fi, and knowing the fact that that vehicle was parked in a garage, protected from the elements. And when it pulls out, there's no glass anywhere near, or any parking, a taillight anywhere near, plastic taillight anywhere near John O'Keefe's car. That only leaves one answer, guys. Doesn't matter how you slice it. She came into that property with the taillight broken. And here's a pretty good picture of such. You see right here how much light you have, the consistent light going through and up, right? You can see where the white is up here, the little reverse light here. You can see the consistent line. Look at that. That's broken. And that's the specific part that is found where John O'Keefe's body was located. So now this doesn't say that, she intended on hitting her or him. I'm sorry. I'll get to that point. When I start looking at the actual description of where she was driving and how she was, positioning the car and things of that nature. This case here is one that I just started looking into just a couple of days ago. So I haven't gone in, or maybe like a week ago. I haven't really gone in too far into it yet. I'm looking at what is the evidence still first, so that I can determine my decision on, hey, did this person do this crime or did they not? I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be one anywhere near or far in between. So I'm not going to try to say, oh yeah, without reasonable doubt, this is what happened. This is what happened. I'm going to tell you, hey, I think she hit him. I think she'd hit him. I don't know about intent yet, but I think she hit him. I think it's pretty clear. You can see that here. She hit something. All right. And that glass was found over there in the vicinity of where John O'Keefe's body was found. But let's do this real quick. I also want to show you something real fast. Let's go back to this video here. You see, this is at like what, 5 something in the morning, right? This is about 2 hours before they find John O'Keefe's body. It's blizzarding. Look at how thick the snow is out here. Wouldn't you think that if there was pieces of taillights that were left at the scene, that it would be buried under snow in these type of conditions? I think so. I think so. Right there, you can see it clear as day. The further side of the opposite side, the driver's side taillight, to me, that's clear as day. You can see that side. You can see it perfect. It doesn't break up or anything. You can see it over here. And for those that say, well, why didn't they say this? Why didn't they bring this up? Yada, yada, yada. Let's see. This is from then. Let me turn up the volume real quick.
The victim's SUV right there, damaging that back right passenger side tail light. And they also claim you can see, the victim's SUV move, indicating that there was a collision. And then as she pulls away, they say that you can tell there's missing parts of the tail light cover.
See, they just said you can tell there's missing tail light cover pieces. They're missing. They're even telling you they're missing as she's backing out and leaving here. That's the defense's statements and whatever it was. If you want me to talk about what the defense says or what they don't say, excuse me. If you want them to tell me what they say or don't say, well, there it is. They admitted to this part, that this is missing. So they're saying there it's missing. So all those folks that are saying, well, what about the officer said that it was cracked? What if this, that, and the third? The defense said it was missing. And this was these guys trying to, say that there was some sort of conspiracy that she was frantic.
That she makes contact, hits the victim's SUV right there, damaging that back right passenger side tail light. And they also claim you can see, the victim's SUV move, indicating that there was a collision. And then as she pulls away, they say that you can tell there's missing parts of the tail light cover.
Right. But it would have been missing if it was a result of striking Officer O'Keefe at that time also. Here's a close.
But the thing is, like even then they said it's missing, but you can't see it on the ground. You don't see it on the ground. Huh. I don't know. Let me see what you guys have to say real quick. I want to say thank you to Aline. I can't even pronounce that name. I don't want to mess it up. For your 3-month membership. We appreciate that. And Robert P for his $3 super sticker. Thank you guys so much. If you got any questions, throw them in the chat. Put a couple of stars so that I know that you're talking to me and not to one of the other persons in the chat. There is one other thing I wanted to go over, but when it comes to this aspect, and I want to keep it to this aspect, right? Like when I put this information out yesterday, I had a ton of people in the comment section start telling me about, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about that? And I'm like, well, what are those, this, that, and that have to do with this evidence that I'm talking about? Let's keep it about this evidence. Tell me what you think. If you think that, hey, I think it's a piece that's broken because the piece that they found looks like that piece. Well, I can show you that it's not. Right. So just kind of tell me which way it is. And I also want your opinion. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? I remember backing up and hitting something. Yeah, I think she did say that. Yep. All right, let's look at the other thing I wanted to show you guys. And I want to thank I don't know who this is. This is from Brandy Churchwell, the 13th juror. I apologize for that, guys. I've been I just got in from working out a little bit, running in the cold. It's got me coughing a little bit. But here it is. So the 13th juror, what do you know? Somebody reverted back the inverted video. So this is one of the things that everybody's like, oh my God, Daniel, look at the inverted video. They hit it inverted. That means that she's being framed. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? And I was like, what are you going to see in an inverted video once it's verted back? The same. It makes no sense. What's the advantage here? You can, our prosecution and law enforcement, like, man, we really hope nobody notices that the driver's getting out of the wrong side of the car. Like, come on now. Now, the other thing I thought was, well, do people think that if they uninvert it, they'll see the passenger side somehow? That doesn't make any sense. You're not going to see the other side if you uninvert it. As you can see, we're still seeing the driver's side of the vehicle once it was verted back over. I'm not sure where this comes in. Now, some people were saying, well, they want you to think this is the passenger side. I was like, as somebody exits out of the driver's seat and they still want you to think this is the passenger side. And where's the thought process here? They're going to be like, hey, we really want to convince everybody that she broke her taillight. So let's take a video of the side that's not broken. Boom. And then all of them are going to be like, whoa, that's totally true. Let's invert it. Show them the side that is together and not cracked or not destroyed. And we'll get people to think that that's the one that is destroyed. Like, where's your logic, y'all? Like, I don't get it. Where's the logic in this? There was a reason. Not necessarily there was a reason. I've never really got into this case because, just kind of looking at it from the outside in, I was like, I don't know. We'll see. And it just never happened. I never thought that I was going to go in there and say, oh yeah, this person's innocent or this person's guilty or any of those type of things. But I was interested into like, all right, they put her up in trial. As soon as there was a hung jury, they re-indicted her again. They must really, really believe that they got the right person. Now, is this a situation where the prosecution can't explain themselves correctly? Maybe. I mean, the attorney that she has from, I think it was California, was, some kind of like attorney for like famous people or something like that. I think maybe even, he had to do with some of their famous crimes, something of that nature. It's just, I don't get it. I mean, were they nervous about the defense lawyers? Maybe. Hopefully, now that they've gone through it one time, they can see what's up. But yeah, I don't get the logic in why people are thinking that this is such a conspiracy. Now, I do have a theory, and I've talked about it when it comes to like the Bryan Kohberger case, and that is that you know, and it's a saying that goes out there is like to a nail, to a hammer, everything's a nail. And so in this case, I think there's so many people that were um, infatuated because in that area, which I think it was the Canton Police Department. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it was the the Massachusetts State Police, but I thought it was Canton Police Department that had some detectives that did something improper. And you know, you have that's going on in this situation, small town, bunch of conspiracies, a lot of people looking for the next conspiracy when it comes to possible law enforcement um, involvement. And trust me, guys, if I see law enforcement involvement in something like this, I'm gonna call it out. I'm not gonna just sit on it. And I've already said that Proctor shouldn't be a police officer anymore. You know, he's lost all credibility. I don't think he's actually said or done something that would have, you know, completely jeopardized the case. I do see why some folks would have a hard time in, you know, committing her or convicting her based on his actions. I mean, there are troublesome. I'm not going to deny that, and he shouldn't be a police officer. But you know, I when it comes to like police corruption and things like that, those things only go so far. Usually, they're found out, and people are under arrest once a couple of things happen. One, once other agencies get involved and they start to look into things, and two, once the crime becomes a high profile crime. Now, from my understanding, the FBI investigated Proctor and a bunch of these other guys, and I'm not sure anybody got arrested like they were, like the other detectives that were arrested who were grooming a young lady who ended up taking her life and trying to, you know, stage it to look like, you know, she took her own life. So when I see the fact that you have a 3-letter agency going in there and doing an investigation on one department in the same area, on certain individuals, why wouldn't they do the same for other members of the same or from a nearby department? It just doesn't make any sense that they would turn a blind eye for one and not the other. And so I know there's a lot of people that were commenting around saying that, you know, the Alberts are going to get it once the FBI starts looking into it. You know, Proctor and all these guys are going to get arrested. I never saw it. Never saw it. So are things suspicious? Are things like weird? Yeah, I admit that 100% from what I have seen. But again, my goal when I look at things like this isn't, am I a lawyer that's trying to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Karen Reed committed this murder or committed this crime? No. Am I a defense attorney that's going to try to prove some sort of reasonable doubt with swaying people one way or another? No, I'm going to look at the evidence, very fact-based, and say, hey, does it fit this or does it not? You know, now if the vehicle took off and you can see that inner part of the taillight, the part that was found at the scene of O'Keefe's, John O'Keefe's body, all right, you know, you got something there. You definitely got something there. That's not the case here. Not the case at all. And again, two things can be right at the same time. You know, Proctor can be an idiot of a police officer and Karen Reed could have committed this crime. It is what it is. Now, let me see. Appreciate you, my man. Thank you. And it's confirmed to be over. I mean, you can't get any clearer than those type of things, guys. I mean, I know that you want to see the officers get in trouble for what they did or what you possibly think they did. The only ones that I think that should probably get into any type of significant type of suspensions or work-related penalties would probably be Higgins and Proctor. You know, so far, I haven't seen everything. I've only seen a part of it. Like, again, I've said, we're just starting this out. Let's see. Why was it a mistrial? Reasonable doubt. So why retry? It's confusing to me. Well, you can retry because the case, she wasn't acquitted. Why a mistrial? My opinion, based on what I'm seeing right now, probably because of Proctor, probably because of, you know, I think there was it sounded like there was like a mob of people that were around the building, things of that nature. I think there was even one YouTuber who was like harassing some of the witnesses. I think they got kicked out of the courtroom area or something like that. It was pretty crazy, to get that far involved. At the end of the day, we're YouTubers, not detectives. We're not police officers. Where most of us aren't anymore. I at one point was. I don't know about the other guy. I really don't know anything about him, other than they call him Turtle something. But outside of that, I really don't know anything about the guy or his stance or anything like that. I assume he's on the free Karen Reed train, based on the emails and the comments I get. But outside of that, I couldn't tell you anything. I've never seen 1 second of his content. And that's what I want to kind of keep this at. I want to keep my mind fresh. I want to keep my mind neutral. I don't care what the prosecution is trying to pretend to say or what the defense is trying to pretend to say or whatever. They want you to look one way or another, which is what I think they try to do with this other vehicle. Let's see. Let me bring this down real quick. Here, they wanted you to look here at this part. They wanted you to look here so you didn't focus here and understand that that's missing. And that's the specific, that's weird. It's just that specific piece is the one that was found and photographed where John O'Keefe was. All right, let's see. He got fired. Who got fired? Proctor? Higgins? I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them did. They probably both should, to be honest with you. Do you think there's enough hard evidence against Karen Reed? At this point, I would say that there is, to say that she hit him, in my opinion. Now, intent, I don't know yet. From the sound of it, and we talked about it last time on the timeline. When she got her blood drawn, she was like at 93, whatever it was, milliseconds to liter of blood or whatnot, which is equivalent to like 0.08, like right at the limit. 93, 100 is kind of where you're at the point, 08 alcohol concentration. And, so many hours this thing happened earlier, she had to be at least double, if not more than that, to be at a point A at that point, unless she continued to drink throughout the night, which is a possibility. Maybe she didn't stop drinking. Maybe she was drinking a little bit at a time. And then maybe perhaps she didn't get that high. That's a possibility, which, I did have a theory. So we see that her car was in the garage, right? So it was protected from the elements, things of that nature. She told people that she had noticed a crack, right? I wonder when she noticed it, when she told, everybody, her friends that, hey, I see a crack on my on my taillight. Maybe she had already seen it. Maybe if she was drinking, and you can tell by her alcohol concentration in her blood, at the time of when they took the test, I think it was like at 8 or 9 in the morning, that there's the possibility that she continued to drink throughout the night, not stopping at 12 o'clock. And if that ends up being the case, then is it possible that she was around the back? She pulled into the garage, closed the garage door, went in, or had a drink with her, or went in, got another glass of wine or something, came around the back, saw that this thing was damaged, dropped a glass, and that's why there's extra glass that doesn't fit the scene. I mean, I think that's just as possible as anything else that everybody else keeps bringing up as a possibility. But, I can't prove that, unless there's some sort of DNA or things of that nature on that glass that shows to be Karen Reed's. Let's see. In my opinion, Karen Reed deliberately unalived John O'Keefe. My heart goes out to his family, especially those 2 kids. A hood man raised his sister's children. The family has suffered so much. I agree. I do agree. And if I was the prosecution and I was trying to show intent, I haven't seen everything, so I really haven't come out with my theory completely. But in order for John O'Keefe to end up where he was at, and the little lack of bruising that he had, and only to one side of his body, which pretty much debunks this whole dog and pony act that he was fighting somebody. Was he fighting a one-armed man that can only hit him on the right side? I don't mean to be mean, but like, what's going on there? Like, and is he, or is John O'Keefe's hand behind his back tied, his left hand? He's got a right arm that's holding a German Shepherd up in the air while it's biting his arm, and he's Cheeto chopping all these blocks until somebody hits him in the back of the head. Is that the ongoing theory? I hope not. But to me, if we were to take a look at the scene, there's a shoe at the curve, and his body's about a couple of feet away from there, between the flagpole and the fire hydrant. A lot of people are like, well, if she was reversing, how did he end up to the side? Well, that means then obviously she was reversing in the middle of the road and then swerved to hit him. And then sideswiped him when she hit him, forcing him onto the grass. Even the defense's witness said that the snow would have softened the blow, so maybe that's the reason why there's a lack of bruises and things of that nature. Now, the fact that there's only cuts and bruises and scrapes to his right side tells me he probably rolled along the side of the car there. That is also going to display the least amount of damages in those type of impacts to the vehicle. It's not a straight on hit to the back, which is going to, you're not hitting a part. When you're hitting the pillar there where the taillight is, that's one of the more structure points of the vehicle. It's not the inside of the tailgate, or a little bit further down the quarter panel, where those parts of the car are designed to crumple in an accident. He's hitting a pretty solid piece there. That's pretty backed up when it comes to that vehicle. So is that why there's not so much damage? I mean, there is. Let me see if I can go back how far I can. I may not have saved it on here, but when I was looking at the pictures of the car, all down the side, and I'm talking about up here, like up here in the roof area, you can see scratches that are coming down. I'll see if I can find those pictures. I know I have them. Have they said how the rest of the taillight broke? Well, what I'm assuming happened is, and we can go back to this picture here. Watch. So let's look at this one first. There's quite a few different pieces, right? They're all broken. I think it's like 47 pieces or something like that. Right. And majority of them are right here. Like I said, I've owned a Lexus before. I had a 2021 or 2022, something like that, LC 500 coupe. It was, man, I love that car. It was a little silver car with, if you guys haven't seen it, it's the same car that the hero in Black Panther 1, I think it is, drives. It's a little sports car. And on the film, on the exterior, on the taillights and on the headlights, had this film on it. I know because I accidentally cut it. I was so on the LC 500, it has these gray markings that come from the headlights that go down towards the signal light turn signals. And if you guys know anything about wrestling or anything like that, but it kind of looks like Sting. If you guys remember who Sting is, or The Crow, if you've ever seen the movie The Crow, where they have these lines going down his face, it kind of reminded me of that. And they were gray, and I wanted them black. And me and my buddy decided to wrap those parts black. And as I was trying to like push in the wrap into the crease, I accidentally cut one of the pieces of film on the headlights. So I know for a fact that these headlights from Lexus are like that. But yeah, but the rest of it probably fell off in transit. Somebody opening and closing the door, too hard or bumping the vehicle. As you can see, there's a lot of pieces that are gone structurally. Even if this vehicle was still there when they drove off, it could have fallen off at any point. It may have been just held on barely, holding on for dear life there. And then when they, checked the vehicle, it may have, broken off more. So you can see right here, there's some scratches there off the edge, which if this was like a vehicle, right, you would expect to see paint transfer. I just see scratches indented into the paint. I don't see any paint transfer. That's the other thing. There's like zero paint transfer from John O'Keefe's car. Interesting stuff. Let me pull up that other video or picture that I wanted to bring up. Let me download that one too real quick. 1 second. Bear with me. I'm just going to pull these up. I've downloaded them real quick. All right. So you have this scratch here that's going upward. Like, how does that go upward if you just slide next to a car, right? If all you're doing is, oh, okay, it hit, right? It slid up, barely touched. Remember, barely touched. Yet you have this scratch here going all the way up and around. Now, I know that the court may ask, or the defense may ask, like, oh, how do you know those are fresh? How do you know those weren't later? I can't tell from this image here, but if this goes down to the paint and they took pictures of this fairly, shortly after the crime had committed, and there's no rust particles into the, if it went all the way down to the metal and there's no rust there, that's an indication. Now, last time I investigated accidents like this was quite a while ago. So, I don't know, maybe it's aluminum under there that don't rust. It's possible. But if it's metal and it does rust, then there you go. But there was even more. There you go. What is this? Like, how does a car do that? And all this way over here. Look at that. Look at that. All the way to the door handle. How does that happen with just barely touching John O'Keefe's car? How does that happen? And this tells me that this was pretty clear and obvious, a side swipe. If I had to take a guess right now, he probably was walking, she probably dropped him off, given where his body was found and the direction he's probably walking in. It sounds like she dropped him off, probably not right in front of the house, right? Now, we also know there's some voicemails there that are real. You can't deny those either, where she's telling him, F you, I effing hate you, blah, 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 right? So she didn't stay at the party. She left, and immediately as she left, she called and left these voicemails. So if you had to choose one or the other, do you think that when she dropped him off, that was a pleasant drop off? Or do you think that there was more to that drop off, given how shortly after she was cursing him out on the phone and how far he was from the actual house? I would suspect that, you'd probably believe that they probably didn't drop him off and had the most pleasant moment in that situation. And so I think that it's possible that he got dropped off a little bit further down the road. As she takes off, he may have yelled something, may have said something as she was dropping her off. She got mad, popped in reverse, went back. Maybe she didn't intend on hitting him. Maybe she intended on pulling up next to him, right? Like a little back, she swerved to get next to him. She's drunk. She's intoxicated. Boom. She hits him. He goes off the side of the vehicle and into the grass. The other thing is, too, he said something she heard. She popped it in reverse, hit it at 24 miles an hour, saw him, and then swerved into him. Hits his hand on the taillight. I mean, if you're going that fast and you hit this part of your hand, that's going to shatter the crap out of that taillight. And then he rolls, hits his head, probably somewhere the quarter panel there, maybe even on the window of the vehicle. Maybe even hits it again on the ground, lands on his head on the ground. And I think that can explain a lot of things. What I can say is that those injuries to his arm are far from a dog bite, especially a German Shepherd. I would show you guys a German Shepherd dog bite from an untrained German Shepherd, but I'd probably get demonetized in the whole 9 yards. My brother was actually bit, and I put it in the Discord, but my brother was bit by a German Shepherd not too long ago, probably about like maybe 3-4 months ago now. It was just one bite, untrained. Dog came in. My brother was working at a job, and the person that owned the property brought his dog, didn't realize my brother and his crew were there. Saw my brother, went and bit him in the arm. He got a hold of him, and that was it. I mean, there was gashes. You could see fat and meat and all these other things coming out of his arm on this one bite. You can see the jaw impression. You can see that it had a lower jaw. That's one of the other things that are missing in John O'Keefe's injuries to his arms. Now, like I said, I'm just looking at the facts. I'm not looking at who said what, she said this, he said that. I'm looking at the injuries. I'm looking at the damage to the taillight. I'm looking at the damage to the car, looking at where his vehicle was, or where his body was discovered, and what was discovered in the snow. I'm not taking anything into consideration as far as any story from either side. Let's see. The wounds on his arm doesn't support being struck by a vehicle, in your opinion. How many vehicular accidents have you investigated where it involved a vehicle to a pedestrian? I've investigated quite a few. And getting hit in this manner here off the side of it, it's not gonna leave the damages as if he was right here in the middle of the back of the vehicle and got plowed into. That's two different things. You know, think about like when you hit a ball and you hit a home run and when you hit a foul ball. You know, obviously it's different, but you know, the foul ball will, you know, when you hit it off the side, it goes off to the side. It don't go straight, right? And, you know, you hit a home run, that's boom, you made great contact with it. It's not the case here. You know, there's different series of deal there. Let's see. Serious question. How does proving she hit the car prove that she hit her boyfriend? No, it's not so much that I'm proving that she hit the car. I'm proving that she didn't hit the car. And what I'm saying is that the damage to the vehicle on the taillight was already there when she pulled into John O'Keefe's residence. There is no taillight pieces underneath John O'Keefe's vehicle. Not one piece whatsoever. So that damage didn't occur there. Even if they did slightly touch, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that they did. Even if they did, there's no taillight there. So that means that when she arrived at that place at 12:36, the damage is already done to the taillight. And the specific taillight area that's missing, pieces of that specific spot were found at 34 Fairview, where John O'Keefe's body was found. That's pretty damaging. You know, you can, you know, if somebody wants to say, oh, you know, maybe Proctor planted it somehow. Well, what did he do? Did he go back in time, break the piece of tailgate or the taillight before she pulled into, or while the vehicle was parked in the garage? He did a Terminator. He went back in time. He popped himself in the garage, broke the back taillight, took the piece, and then went to the future a couple of days and then planted it. That doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Yeah. Do you think all those people coming and going didn't see John on the lawn? Vanessa Guillen was murdered and chopped up, and her body was placed in a specific area. Police had the location of where her body was located, and they were actively searching for it. And this was a search team, including police officers and a search and rescue team, and they couldn't find the body that they were looking for. It was dark. John O'Keefe wasn't a fat man or a large man in that sense. Him laying in the lawn and the blizzard type of conditions that there were, yeah, it's pretty plausible that people don't see him. I mean, let's think about the conditions, right? If you were in an icy situation, are you looking to your left or to your right, or are you looking at the steps in front of you so you don't fall, so you don't step on ice? Now, if you're a young person, are you looking at the floor? Are you looking at your phone, or you're looking for a body on the lawn? Right? So many times there could be something next to you and you wouldn't even know or notice. Most people don't even know or notice because they're too occupied with what they're watching, what they're doing, things of that nature. So yeah, I do think that it's quite possible on a dark blizzard night that people can walk on the lawn. It wasn't next to the door. He was by the fire hydrant and the flagpole way across. People aren't getting dropped off in that area. People are getting dropped off in the driveway. People are walking through the sidewalk. They're not walking through, the grass and on the snow, through the snowy parts. They're going to go through the parts where it's already been, I would assume people in Massachusetts know how to prepare for a snowstorm and would put ice on their sidewalk and things of that nature. That's where you're walking through. That's where you're looking at. You're not looking around trying to find a dead body. Let's see. It was obvious that people in that house were hiding something. What were they hiding? Like, what were they hiding? What came out that said that they were hiding something? I don't understand that. Like, oh, they were hiding something. Like, why? Was something found later that implemented them or implicated them in something? I don't think so. My biggest question here is, if she hit him, why didn't anyone see him lying there? There are many people that came and went. Yeah, well, I just answered that. Like, I guarantee you, if somebody was in the dark wearing black, because he was wearing dark clothing too, in a blizzard that's getting covered in snow, it's going to be hard to see. It's going to be hard to see. Let's see. And she did run straight to his body. Why wouldn't she go back to the house where she saw him last, going around town? So she ended up there last, and seeing him off the road near the trees makes zero sense. Yeah, that's true. It kind of sounds like she didn't, like she wanted other people to be around when they found his body. I'm not sure if that was to me, but that I agree it was at 12:36. There was no canine DNA on John O'Keefe's body. That is true. Some people will say, well, he had pig DNA. I mean, he was hanging out with somebody who, like earlier that day, that owned a pizzeria. He was at a pizza place. You don't think what are pepperonis and bacon made out of? You don't think they put those things out there? Like, come on now, guys. Come on now. Let's see. No, he wasn't hit by a car. My crash daddy said so. Well, sometimes even daddies are wrong. And like I said, I have no idea what the thought or the theory of the prosecution is, or the defense. You can ask Connor. She's asked me multiple times. She's even put the links in the Discord. Like, watch this, and that way you can change your mind. And I'm like, I don't want to watch anything from either side. Nothing from either side. My 100% goal is just to get the facts of the evidence. What happened? All right, let me look at the actual physical evidence via pictures, obviously, and make a determination based off that, not anybody else's things or anything like that. If I see something that looks kind of weird, then I'm going to point it out. And I know that there's some things there, like the phone thing, right? I'll just get into that real quick. Like, they went and turned in their phones the day before they got subpoenaed. Okay. It's unfortunate. That really is. But like, unless they got subpoenaed, how would they have known they needed to turn in their phones? I know somebody was like, oh, well, obviously he's a police detective, this, that, and the third. Somebody gave him the heads up, yada, yada, yada. We'll prove it. Where is that on any detective's phone? Where is that on any text message? Prove it. It's not what you think or believe. It's what you can prove. Prove it. Show me the evidence behind that. Because as far as I know, and it sucks because, this has kind of happened to me in the past when I was in law enforcement where I got a warrant for something and it was no longer available. It gotten rid of a couple days earlier throughout that week or was just no longer available. Those things happen quite often. Now, is it suspicious? Does it look weird? 100%. I don't disagree with you. But does it mean that it happened? Does it mean that they purposefully did that? Or is it, is there any evidence of that? Is there a history showing that they had just turned in their phones? Now, if they had just turned in their phones like a couple of months earlier or 6 months earlier, and most of them or majority of them turned in their phones, now all of them redid it, 100%. That's some corroborating evidence that you can tie in. But if they've been turning in their phone every 1 to 2 years or 18 months to 24 months and it's been 18 to 24 months since the last time, well, it's kind of habitual, don't you think? So again, prove it. Yeah, I think it's kind of weird. And like I said, a lot of the officers that were investigating this case shouldn't be cops. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I love The Crow. The Crow was a good movie. There is, when they had close-up pictures, it was paint scuff. And that didn't look like paint scuff to me. Those look like scratches. Like, if I had to take a guess, probably from the shattered glass and his body pressed up against the car, maybe even some zippers or, what they call those hater jeans where you have the little buttons that stick out on the side on your jeans that are made out of little metal buttons or whatever, little nipple things, where your waist is. Anyway. Weren't there taillight pieces outside the house when his body was discovered? I don't know. But as we saw in the video, there was a significant amount of snow on the ground and it was continuing to pile up. I would have been more surprised if they would have driven up in a blizzard and said, hey, we see these pieces of glass of taillight, just sitting there on top of the snow. That would be suspicious because his body been there since 12:30 or 12:25. And if his body was there due to an accident or a vehicle versus pedestrian accident, collision, then and the pieces are above the snow, that's a problem. That's a problem. But if it's buried underneath the snow, well, kind of means it was there before, right? Why did Higgins get rid of his phone? There could be a multitude of reasons why the police officers got rid of their phones. It doesn't necessarily have to be because they were trying to frame Karen Reed. They probably had some inappropriate conversations with each other, maybe said some things that they don't want people to know about. Maybe even if they're like, similar to like what Proctor did, right? Oh yeah, hey, this girl's this or this girl's that, or I saw these pictures or I saw those, or whatever the case may be. A locker room talk. There could be a lot of that on there. There could be some incriminating stuff with Higgins because him and Karen Reed were actively fooling around. She kissed him. She went to his house. A lot of people look at Higgins and say, oh man, he must have done it because he was jealous. But yet, like, usually isn't it the one that's in the relationship that calls the shots on those type of things? Who wants out of it? Who's who's angry. And like I said, there's three elements, behavioral elements to a crime. There's the, that a criminal does. There's the pre-crime behavior, during the crime behavior, and post-crime behavior. And when it comes to Karen Reed and you can even look at like Brian Koberger or anybody else like that, there's quite a bit of incriminating evidence there that would point you to the direction that that she committed a crime. Pre-crime, I mean, she's arguing with him, she's cheating on him with Higgins. Whether you think that, whether they had intercourse or not, they had a romantic moment, they were texting each other, those type of things. She's the one being, having a out of relationship. She's questioning him. She was questioning him, saying like, are you interested in other people? Yada, yada, yada. Like I've always said, a lot of people said, when you accuse somebody of something, unless there's like hard facts on that type of stuff, because obviously if somebody is cheating, they accusations can come based off of that. But if there is no proof or evidence and you're just, somebody's being like insecure or whatever, it sometimes is because the person that is accusing is the one that's doing. And in this situation here, it probably had more to do with that than anything else. But I mean, there's a multitude of reasons. It's kind of like, why did Ron Logan ask for an alibi before the bodies were found? It was suspicious. It was weird. Bodies found on his property, Libby and Abby from Delphi. Yet it was because of another reason. He was not trying to get caught drinking and driving or something like that. All right. I don't know that that these were there before. I mean, even if we don't have a before and after, that's kind of like saying, I went outside, I saw water on the ground, I saw water on the top of my car, I saw water in everybody else's yards, and I see dark clouds in the distance going away from me. I can tell it rained. I didn't have to see it physically rain to tell it rained. Here you have a broken taillight, you have a person that's dead, taillight pieces around him, and you have these scratches that are coming from, at least a few of these that are coming from the taillight, as you can see. So, yeah, I mean, you can say that, but it don't take much to connect the dots on there. Know what I mean? That's not where I remember the scratch, Daniel. That's the panel, I think. This is the rear quarter panel, there and there. And then here you can see these scratches here. You can even see it starting inside the taillight. Like where it would have scratched, like when it popped off and then went on through. Crazy stuff. Two-inch big scuff. I mean, these aren't small scuffs. I mean, the pieces that were missing out of this taillight weren't small either. That's what we need to understand. Like, these were big pieces that were missing. This isn't a small piece right here. That's a if you were to grab this piece and run it along the side of a car, it's going to leave some pretty gnarly scratches on it. 100%. Where do these pictures come from? They're not the originals. They're coming from that video I played. All of them. All these. These are obviously, this one's from Law and Crime. This one was from, I think, Law and Crime as well. This may be just a stock photo of a taillight of an LX 570. This was from the where this is part of the evidence, right? And as you can see, like I said, there's no fins. You see the fins here. Look at that. Look at those triangular fins right there. You see them there. They're not on here. They're on here. And look at that piece. That looks nothing like, wait a minute, this piece. Way up here, you see the curvature. You see the curvature where people thought that was the part that was the exterior part of the tail lamp. Whole 9 yards. And that goes to the inside of the light. I don't know what to tell you guys. Let's see. These aren't really new scratches. These are old pictures that I found. None of them are from anything relatively new. These are all that I was able to search on Google and things like that, and looking up the case facts. Let's see. I think there was tension because Higgins was there that night and he texted Karen at the bar. Yeah, but it's Karen's lights that are missing. Karen's tail light that is broken, and pieces that are visible on camera that are missing are found where his body was at. So I don't know. Let's see. There it is. Black box showed its work to the right. See, I didn't know any of that. But if that's the case, then that kind of shows intent, don't you think? I mean, it could. Like I said, there's the possibility she was just drunk, turned to the right to talk to him and hit him, and then freaked out and left. Possible too. Yeah, no way it was dog bites. Leave the paint chip under the windshield. Glass dinged it. Right elbow lines up with the broken tail light. You know, part of me at one point thought maybe his head hit the tail light because the gash on the back of his head, that was pretty obvious that there was a high impact there. That could have been at the contact with the ground. And you look at the bumper on Karen's car, it protrudes way out. How does her tail light hit John's car? Yeah, no, I agree with you. The bumpers do kind of stick out. However, even if they did collide there, how you gonna get this scratch up here with that collision, or this scratch right here that is coming from the tail light? Come on. Let's see. Trooper Paul said it was projected 30 feet. Is that possible from a swipe? Yeah, 100%, especially since it was cold that night and it was freezing. The heat from the light, that could cause it to pop. What are the lights made of? Are they made out of gas? They're made out of gas, especially. Boom. Like that halogen gas or whatever it's called. If it's like an LED or something like that, I mean, whatever it was, those pieces were pretty large that they were able to put together and find. And again, that piece is missing when she pulls into John O'Keefe's residence. So it's not like that piece went missing after the fact or whatever the case may have been. I've been struck by a vehicle going 35 miles an hour. My S-head joints is deranged and I had internal, external bruising. I flew in the air, landed on the ground. I didn't die. I didn't have scratches and gashes. Interesting. Everything's different. You know, I saw a guy get sideswiped by an 18-wheeler in my career on the highway too. It was pretty intense. This dude was drunk. He was walking across the highway and wasn't paying attention, and an 18-wheeler was coming by, and it saw him at the last moment and kind of swerved, kind of jackknifed, and the tail end of the trailer, just the very back end of the trailer, hit him, and it just kind of sideswiped him. Now, he flew in the air and he landed and he broke some bones and things of that nature. He landed on the pavement and survived the whole 9 yards. It was weird that he survived. I didn't think he was going to survive. It looked like there was a big ass hole in his head. But paramedics got there, said that he's still breathing. They end up saving his life. And I've seen a guy die that got hit like at 10 miles an hour. Everything's different. You know, where you get hit, how you get hit, location of where you get hit. The direction or the part of the vehicle that you hit. I mean, those are all factors that go into play. You know, I know that a lot of people are going to bring up the crash daddies, but when you go and look at what the defense gave gave their experts in other fields, like for instance, the doctors that said that there wasn't any that the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm could have been from a dog attack, yet the defense didn't let them know a few things. They didn't let them know there was no DNA from a dog or any of those type of things that was left behind. And so that leads me to wonder, how much information did the defense actually tell the crash daddies in reference to how they believe that this crime or this accident was committed? They may tell him like, yeah, they hit him, he got hit. They're claiming he got hit, from the side there. And they may be trying to say that it was a full impact where his body was like, let me pull it up here real quick. Like his body was like right here when he got hit. And it was a full impact that way, and not necessarily a side swipe. Maybe they're not even showing him these scratches that are on the side of the vehicle. I mean, you have to take that into consideration when you listen to the other experts who aren't getting all the information. So that might be a reason why the crash daddies may not be looking at this the same way. 75 feet away from the house. Yeah, that's a pretty good distance. His ribcage was bruised by his own elbow being forced into it. I haven't seen that, but I definitely would like to pick up the medical report on that aspect. I do know that there was no blunt force to his face going back towards the back of his skull. Even the defense's own experts said, and I did watch this part because everybody was telling me, oh, you got to watch the medical stuff. I've only seen the medical stuff about the arm. And I think that's a lot of it. I think I saw I thought it was Higgins, but I went back and looked at pictures of who people were. I think it was Chris Albert. I saw some of his testimony, not like a lot of it, like 30, 40 minutes of his. There's like a whole lot I haven't seen, but I digress. So let's see. So yeah, I have no idea how much information that they were told. There's a good possibility, but yeah, the ribcage thing, I don't know. There you go. That's where I was at. The defense, when the prosecution asked the defense if there was force trauma to the front going towards the back, like broken bones or orbital bones or any of those things, he said no. All the force was from the back to the front. There you go. But here's the thing, like, if they ditch their phones while given a preservation order, they are hiding. But they got rid of the phones before they got the preservation order. That's the problem. Like, it's not the other way around. John was found a long way from the entrance of the house. Yeah. And if he was beaten to death in the house and dropped there, where's the blood leading from the house to his location of his car, of his body? Where is that? So he had pig DNA because he hung out with a friend who worked at a pizza place. I mean, you put bacon and a bunch of other stuff, pork, sausage, a bunch of things on pizza, right? Am I wrong? Like, I think that's more logical than, some dog had a condom in their mouth and were chewing on pork ears and spit it out. And the reason there's no DNA from the dog from chewing the pork is because it had a condom in its mouth and it was protecting the saliva or whatever the case may have been. Is that more believable that a dog chewed on something and left the chewed DNA of the chewed animal, but not the DNA of the dog that was chewing it? I don't know. I mean, when you try to weigh out what's more logical, I really do think, hanging out with somebody who owns a pizza place that has to handle pork could be a reason why he had pig DNA on him. I mean, I don't know. All righty, guys. I'm going to call it. I'm going to go through real quick, see if I see anything here that sparks my attention. We'll be back, I think, in a couple of days, maybe. I know I want to do a members only on Sunday, but I also want to talk about the new documents that were dropped in the Brian Koberger case. So please hit that like and subscribe button and get that notification going the day before giving it, because he got a heads up. Where's the proof about that? Like, is there a text message saying, hey, heads up, get rid of your phones? Like, it wouldn't be that hard to figure out, who got the preservation order. Let's get their phones, and like, come on now. Or their superiors. Believe it or not, like officers, a lot of officers don't know what each officer is doing as far as cases and stuff. They may be knowing that they're assigned to a specific case or things like that, but what they're specifically doing or the portion that they're on, not really. And I think that when you start asking for a preservation order on some things, and you were to tell the guy to get rid of it the day before, like, hey, here's a heads up, like that's going to bring some unwanted attention, right? Probably the opposite of what you wanted to do. Now, maybe if they got the phones and then when they downloaded it, it somehow, had some corruption to it, and the person that had access to it was a friend of his, and that's the person that collected it, and okay, maybe there's something there. Definitely something that they want to hide. But does it mean that they want to hide it from, the Karen Reed case, or maybe a relationship they don't want out in the public? I mean, there's so many reasons why. Let's see. I didn't watch the full trial. I've only seen the medical stuff, and I saw that court TV thing that we just watched where they said that the defense said that you can see this or whatever. I actually didn't see that part that the defense said. I didn't see the part, or have no idea of the part where it's inverted. I just keep hearing a lot of people saying, what about the inverted video? Yeah, that's about it. I haven't seen any of the crash stuff. I haven't seen anything about, well, the only thing I saw about the medical stuff was pertaining to the dog bites, not anything else either. So I really haven't seen a lot of it. But yeah, what I have seen was on both sides. I saw the ME from the prosecution. I saw the defense's witness, and listened to what they said about the dog bites. But I had already made my opinion up on the dog bites, and I wasn't swayed by either side. Just like I've made my opinion on this. I'll go back and watch, the trial on this part to see what either side is saying or how close I am to what somebody might be saying. But it's not going to sway my position. My position on the dog bites was already made well before I looked at any of these so-called experts. And that's the way I want to keep it. I don't want to listen to a bunch of other nonsense here and here. I want to see it, look at the evidence, and then afterwards, once I've made my decision, I'll go in there so that way my decision isn't swayed. All right, last one. Daniel, those are reflections of scratches on the side of the car. At all, the only scratches above the lamp, you need to use forensic pictures. That's not real. That's not real. Am I seeing this? Is nobody else seeing this? Is no one else seeing that? Maybe it's one of those rod things, right? Those things that are mysteriously flying in the air. And it just so happens that there's like 3 of them flying right here in front that make it look like scratches. I don't know. All righty, guys. You guys have a great night. I want to thank everybody. Have you ever seen the Bang Bang rap someone made? It's funny. No, I have not. Send it to me. You guys have a great night and safe weekend. We'll see you guys a little bit later. Peace.